the one, the only, Ben Sion.
Good evening and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Back to Yeshiva YouTube after Tisha B'Av. We're now to learn. We're doing Daf Yomi tonight, just Daf it. Tonight's Daf is Gittin, Daf Ayin Beis, number 72. We'll pick up from the bottom of Ayin Aleph and Beis. About 5 lines from the bottom, 6 lines from the bottom. Elakula Rabbi Yossi. We're trying to figure out the Mishnah on Ayin Aleph and Beis. Basically says that if you tell people, or people ask you if you should write again, you tell them to write again, right? And the first case in the Mishnah is that if you didn't say tnu, right? You didn't say I get. You instructed someone to write the get, but you didn't tell them to give the get, so therefore it's possible. Sounds like Rav Meir. Rav Meir's opinion is that that's the only problem. You didn't say to give it, but the question of Mili, right? The question of Mili, where basically I would say to someone, and he says to somebody else, I say to someone to write again, and he says to someone else, that wouldn't be a problem. The Sefer, though, says, and Mishnah says, it's only good, right? You have to be the one to tell the scribe to write it and the Edom to sign. It can't be that you told someone, he told someone else, because that's follows the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Mili lo mimsur l'shliach. We're trying to figure out who is this Mishnah. Could it be that the beginning of the Mishnah holds like Rav Meir and the Sefer holds like Rabbi Yossi? So the Gemara picks out. The Gemara says, "Kulo Rabbi Yossi." The Gemara can see everybody. The entire Mishnah maybe follows Rabbi Yossi. The reason that it's right, even the beginning of the Mishnah follows Rabbi Yossi. It's not Rav Meir. And the case is right. The reason it's not good in the Reisha, in the first case in the Mishnah, is not because he didn't say tnu, give it. It's because normally Rabbi Yossi holds, even though he holds mili l'mimshram l'shliach, if I tell someone to write the get, he can't tell someone else to write the get. But if I say, I'll tell the person, you tell somebody else to write the get, Rabbi Yossi would agree that case would be mili l'mimshram l'shliach, as long as I say that, right? So that's what the Reisha is saying, that it's not good, because he didn't tell someone else to say that. He did tell them to give it, he just didn't tell someone else to say it. That's the problem. Why doesn't the end of the Mishnah say until he says, right? If that's the whole problem with the Mishnah, there's only one problem in the Mishnah. He said to give the get. He made a shliach laholacha. The problem is he told someone to write or someone to sign the get, but he didn't tell them, you person, tell the scribe to write it. He didn't say that. He just told someone, and that person told the scribe without him telling him to tell him. That's what it should say. Until the problem with it is that he didn't tell someone else to tell the scribe to do it or tell the other Edom to sign. The Ode, another further question, does Rabbi Yossi even agree with this premise that it's not a problem of mili if I tell someone to tell someone else to write the get or to sign the get? The Mishnah says later in Masechus Gittin, Ksav sofer ve'ed kosher. If a sofer writes it and one aide signs it, it's kosher. That Mishnah meant to say that it wasn't just one aide who signed it. The sofer wrote the get, and then he also joined the other aide and signed it. So you have two aides. Rav Chisda says that Mishnah maslisin mani. Who does that Mishnah follow? Like Masir Rabbi Yossi. Da'amar mili l'mishron l'shliach. It has to be Rabbi Yossi because according to Rav Meir says mili ar mimshron l'shliach. Therefore, if I tell someone to write the get, he could tell somebody else. If that's the case, so it's very possible that I told someone else to sign, I told someone else, and he told someone else to sign, and he told someone else to write it. And if it's not the original person, a lot of times people will feel guilty having the scribe write it, and you're saying you're qualified to write it, but not to sign it. So if it's not the direct person that the husband said it to, and there's other people involved further away from the husband, they might let the sofer sign it, and the husband and only instructed the scribe to write it, not to sign it. Problem is going to happen. Sometimes I'll say to two people, you tell the sofer, the scribe to write it, and you go ahead and tell these other two people to sign it. And because they'll be embarrassed that the scribe doesn't get to sign, they'll let him scribe. It's not going to be a good get because the husband didn't instruct. He did tell someone else to sign, but he only told the scribe to write. He tell the scribe to write and not to sign it. So it must be, it doesn't work at all, immediately, according to Rabbi Yossi. The Gemara concedes probably we have to say the Reisha of the Mishnah is Rameir, even though it's difficult to say the first half of the Mishnah is one opinion, and the second half of the Mishnah is the other opinion. That's what I have to say. Rav Ashi gives an answer which can resolve the problem. Amar Kula Rabbi Yossi. Really, the entire Mishnah follows the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. V'lo miboyi kamar. The beginning of the Mishnah, right, which seemingly only has a problem of tnu, that you didn't say tnu, which seems to be according to Rameir. Lo miboyi heichad lamar tnu. It's telling you a bigger chiddush. Of course, right, if you didn't say tnu, it's not going to be good. Elafil amar tnu. Lo. Even if you say tnu, it's not good. Lo miboyi heichad lamar lebeit lasa. Elafil amar lebeit lasa lo. Like Rameir says, right, Mili are Mr. Nashliach, or and specifically in a case where you tell a base and 3 people, Mili are Mr. Nashliach. Not even a case where you did tell 3. Even if you did this prerequisite of telling the person to tell someone else, it doesn't work. Like we said, according to Rabbi Yossi, he never says Mili or Mr. Nashliach. Even if you say Imru, even if you say to the Edom, you go ahead and tell someone else to write the get and to sign the get. Tanya Gabasi the Rav Ashi, a brisa according to Rav Ashi, Ksav Sofer Kasav Sofer Lishma. Sofer wrote the get Lishma. V'chismo Edom Lishma. The Edom signed Lishma. Avbi Shekasvu v'chasmu v'nasnu lo. V'nasnu lo. They followed its orders. And they gave it to her. And they gave it to him. And he gave it to her. Harei get batel. The get is batel. Achi Yishmu Kolo Sheyomer L'Sofer Ksav Edom Chasomu. Right? This brayah is obviously talking about a case where Amar Imru, basically he told someone else to go ahead and tell the scribe to write it. He told someone else, go tell the Edom to do it. So you see what? Like Rabbi Yossi, and Mili are never Mimshon L'Shliach. And the Gemara points out, Yishmu, right? It says, the Barai says, the get is batel, ad Yishmu kol, until they hear the kol. Right? Why these explicit language? Yishmu lafuki mandar mod Rabbi Yossi be'emr Imru. They directly hear it from him. To disregard, to say Rabbi Yossi does not hold of Omer Imru is good. Kolo, it says his voice, La Fukim the Rav Kahana Marav. Tell you the halachas not like Rav Kahana Marav. Even though we said yesterday, not really, yesterday morning, I gave this shir, where we paskin like Rav, basically that someone who is a cheresh, he's a deaf mute, basically if he is able to write written instructions to tell people to write and sign a get, it would work. This brisa seemingly does not accord with Rav's opinion, or Rav Kahana Rav's opinion, and doesn't work. That's why Koli, after his voice, his ksav would not be okay. But we do hand the paskin like Rav anyway, as I mentioned yesterday. The Mishnah says, "Zegitech imesi, zegitech mecholi, zegitech lachar misa lo amar klum." We had part of this halacha earlier on Daf Yud Gimel. There's a concept of ein get lachar misa. Get can't take effect after the death. Right? Once you're dead, you can't give a get. So if you write in the get, well, let's say you write in the get, this is your get if I die, or this is your get if I don't recover from the sickness, or this is a get after Misa. You specifically say after I die. Lomer klum. You can't have a get after Misa once you die, and therefore the nafkamin is there's a concept of yibum. The get is batel, and there's a concept of yibum if you have if your husband has a brother and you didn't have kids with your husband, then there would be a mitzvah of yibum, or you have to do chalitza. However, Yomi mesi, machshavi mesi, arei a get. If you include when you write the get is from today if I die, or ma'achshav if I die. That basically stipulates you want the get to retroactively take place before you actually died. It's not like get lachar misa. Ma'yom lachar misa get ve'eno get. However, if you write the words, it's a get from today and after death. So it implies Ma'ayom sounds like from today, and Achar Misa sounds it right after death. So therefore, get ve'eno get. It's a suffix, basically, if it's a get or not. And if he dies, therefore it's a suffix whether it's a get or not. You can't do mitzvah of yibum because we're not sure, right, if there's a mitzvah of yibum. Yibum has to be dolcha, the isser of Eishasach, right? You need a definite mitzvah of yibum. A suffix mitzvah of yibum does not docha. Therefore, you have to do chalitza. Zeg gitech ma'yomi mesi micholi zeh. He says, this is your get from today if I die. Micholi zeh. From this sickness. He specifies this sickness. V'amot, he got better. V'alach b'shuk, he went out to the marketplace. V'chala, then he got sick again, umes. And he died. Omdim also, imachmas choli harishon mes. If the medical doctors assess that he really died because of the original, he never really recovered from the original illness, it's a get. It's a get. V'imlav, you know, get. If not, if it's a new sickness, that wasn't included in the original language of the get, and therefore it wouldn't be a get. The Gemara says, Alma, imesi klach harmisa dami. If you write in the get, right, hareza gitech imesi, if I die, it sounds like you're saying, I'm giving you the get after I die. But hadar tani, then the next line in the Mishnah says, ma yomi mesi, ma achshav imesi, alma imesi, lav klach harmisa. It uses the same language, imesi, if I die. It sounds like it means, right, the halacha over there, it is a good get. So what does it mean? What is the connotation in Mesi? After death or before death? Amar Abaye, Mesi shtei lashonos mashma. It can be interpreted two different ways. Mashma kama achshav, mashma kalach harmisa. It can be used as you want it to be happen retroactively now, or it could be you want it to take effect after your death. Amar la mehayom. If he includes the word mehayom, command amar la ma'achshav them. It's like he's saying, I want it to be take effect now. If he didn't encourage the Mahayom, command Amar la Lachar Misa Dami. Then he's saying, basically, Lachar Misa, I want to take effect after I die. So the Mishnah says, it doesn't work, it's not a get. Amar Rav Huna v'choletzes. Rav Huna adds in, the Mishnah didn't mean to say it's not a good get at all. It's a suffix get, Rav Huna says. And therefore, like the end of the Mishnah, you have to do chalitza. You can't even do chalitza. But how lo amar klum kasai? The Gemara challenges. The Mishnah says lo amar klum. It's not a good get at all. And right, you can even do yibum. Lo amar klum. So like he answered lo amar klum da asira la alma. Lo amar klum means he's forbidden to marry anybody else. So ligavam nami asira. It's a suffix. So you need a chalitza to sever the yibum bond. You can't marry the yavam also. It's a suffix mitzvah yibum. The Gemara asks, the end of the Mishnah teaches another case, right? Where you have two different conflicting languages. You say, Ma'yom ula achar misa. So that case is a suffix get, and the Mishnah specifically says choletzes. It means the Reisha of the Mishnah does not hold of choletzes. And it's not a get at all, and you can do the mitzvah of yibam. The Gemara says, Mazis and Rabbanan. Our Mishnah follows the opinion of Rabbanan. Rav Huna da'amar Rabbi Yossi. Rav Huna didn't agree with our Mishnah. He wasn't saying it's halacha from our Mishnah. He was saying halacha about a case in our Mishnah. He would say the halacha is according to Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says, he argues on the Rabbanan, if you write in the get, hareza gitech imesi, if I die. So the fact that you wrote, he says when you're writing the get, you write a date, right? Now the date is before you die. So obviously you meant, even though it sounds like imesi, it sounds like I want to give the get after I die, but the fact that you're writing the date in the get before you die shows that you want the get to be effective then. So the omdina, the circumstances, allow us to say that the get took effect earlier. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yossi, chalitza amiloti boy. If it's like Rabbi Yossi, also like Rabbi Yossi, so then it's a good get completely. You don't even need chalitza. Maybe he'll tell me Mesafli that Rav Huna Yehel Rabbi Yossi or Rabbi Yossi. Maybe he's not sure if Rabbi Yossi or not. Is he really unsure about this? He was very sick. Ula Gabe, Rav Huna Rav Nachman. Rav Huna Rav Nachman was telling me them. They came to ask to see him. Amalei Rav Huna Rav Nachman. Rav Huna said to Rav Nachman, Boy minei mirav baravu. I asked him, Halacha Rabbi Yossi. Is halacha of Halach Rabbi Yossi or not? Amalei. So he said back to Rav Nachman says to Rav Huna, Time with the Yossi layadana halacha yibai minei. I don't even know the reason. He didn't understand. The Gemara already said it, but he didn't understand that reason. I don't know the reason. How could I even ask him who the halacha is like? Amrulei ad boy minei halacha. You ask him the question. When he tells you the answer, I'll tell you what the reason of Rabbi Yossi is. So he asked him, boy minei. He asked him. Amrulei. So when Rabbi Ravua told him, Hachi Amar Rav, this is what Rav says. Halacha Rabbi Yossi. Halacha accords with the Rabbi Yossi. Ula basar denafel when he was leaving. Amrulei hainu time with the Rabbi Yossi. Then Rav Huna told Rav Nachman the reason Rabbi Yossi because savar zmano shashtar mochiach lav. So you see what? That it was very clear. Rav Huna was in the story. He got the clear psak. The halacha is like Rabbi Yossi. He wasn't unsure. Ella, the Gemara says, Misafkele, the top of Ayin Beis and Beis, Amar Rabbi Yossi Balpeh, lo Amar. Right? fine. We have Rabbi Yossi says when you say you write in the get Hareza Gitech Imesi. What if you say Hareza Gitech? You give the get, and then you verbally say Imesi. You didn't write it in the get Imesi. Would Rabbi Yossi agree also in that case that we say the Zmano Shel Shtar Melchiach Alav? Or do we say the fact that he added in the words verbally Imesi means that he really wanted the get only to take effect after he died? Is he really unsure of this? The Mishnah says Hareza Gitech Malbasi Mikam Ad Yud Beis Chodesh. The Mishnah coming up, I believe, says, this is your get. If I don't come back within 12 months, I don't come back within 12 months, I want the get to take effect. Well, Meis B'tok Yud Beis Chodesh, and he dies in the 12th month, during the 12 months, ain't no get. We'll talk about the reason why, because Misa is not, right? Misa is an onus. He didn't expect that to happen, so he didn't mean it to be a get. The Tani Allah, Rabbeinu Hitiru Ali Nase. The Brisa about this Mishnah taught the rabbis allowed her to get married, to say it was a good get. Who's the rabbi? It's the Beis Din that allowed the oil of idolaters, right? The Mishnah in Maseches Avodah Zarah says certain things you're not allowed to use that idolatry. You're not supposed to have pas akum, bread of non-Jews. You're not supposed to have yain akum, a wine that was touched by non-Jews. But however, the Beis Din allowed oil, even though originally it was Asher, they allowed oil from non-Jews. So Rabbi Yossi, and they hold this Beis Din held like Rabbi Yossi, Damar Zmano Shel Shtar Melchiach Alav. Right, and it's clear from this case. This case is a case where it was a verbal discussion over here. It was a verbal discussion. He gives the get, and he makes a verbal stipulation if I don't come back within 12 months. So you see that verbally, Rabbi Yossi is very clear about this, and Rav Huna should have been clear about that. Elam Misafkale, what was Rav Huna unsure about? Rabbi Yossi Balpeh, oh, ain't halacha. So he knew that Rabbi Yossi said he would say the same thing even if he made a verbal addendum to the get. The question is, does he hold like Rabbi Yossi in the case of Baal Peh when he adds it on or not? The Gemara challenged it. Is Rav Huna really suffix about this? Rabba says, this is your get if you die. Vishani mace. Or you say, this is your get and I'll die. Harei get, meaning assuming I'll die, it's a get. Harei get, those first two cases are a get. Kisha amos, if you say this is your get when I die, ula achar misa, or you say it's a get after misa, ain't a get, that's not a get. Hechi dami, what's the first case where Rabba says it is a get? Ilema da amar la mehayom, right? It says here harei gitech mesi, right? So if he really meant to say harei gitech mehayom mesi, the Rabbanan, which would be the opinion of the Rabbanan, right? In our Mishnah, which basically said the same thing. We know that's the opinion of the Rabbanan. That's not a chiddush. That's what our Mishnah says. Ve'alav must be, Rav is saying, he didn't say Mahayom. Rabbi Yossi, and it must be the following opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Shmami na'alacha Rabbi Yossi. You see, Rava is, the Basra was one of the last Amoraim, so Rava, we follow like Rava al-Halacha. And Rava said with the possibility like Rabbi Yossi, even in the case of verbally adding it in. So the Gemara says, Rava pshitale. Rava, he was sure that Allah is like Rabbi Yossi, even Baal Peh. But Rav Huna misafkale. Rav Huna was unsure, and that's why he does suffix. You might say, la'olam da'amar la mehayom. Really, in fact, it was a case. Rava was talking about a case where he said mehayom. So what's the chiddush? Rabbanan, and really it reflects the opinion of Rabbanan. V'hani lishni itzrichale. The reason that Rava taught it is to teach you something else. Shani meis ki meisi dami, right? The last two lashonas, when he says shani meis, right? That means if I die, which basically is saying that it's going to be a good get. Kisha amos kla'achar misa dami. When he says when I die, that's saying after misa, and it's saying get la'achar misa. Some say that Rav Huna's comment was said about the Seifa or Mishnah. Zegitech la'achar misa lo'amar klum. And he says this is a get after misa. He writes that in the get. He didn't say anything. Amar Rav Huna l'div Rabbi Yossi choletzes. According to Rabbi Yossi, in that case, you do chalitza. Pshita. The word says obvious. When the Seifa l'Rabbanan choletzes, Reisha nami Rabbi Yossi choletzes. Obviously, the Reisha, the whole Mishnah is not the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. It's the Rabbanan. So the Rabbanan say only the last case in the Mishnah is chalitza. It applies that the Rabbanan hold the first case is no chalitza. But Rabbi Yossi argues in the Rabbanan, so he would say chalitza. Mao the same Rabbi Yossi b'haka Rebbe spherle. So the Gemara says you might think that Rabbi Yossi in this case holds like Rebbe. The Amar Gita Ma'al Yehevi, the Chanelitza Nami Lo Tiboy. That it's the case is not emaciated. It's really a case where he says, we'll see in a second. Rebbe says, we'll see in a second the case exactly, but you might think Allah is like Rebbe. The Amar Gita Mal Yehevi. In this following case, we'll see what exactly it means. It is a valid get. It's a complete get. You don't even need chalitza kamashma and delo. It's not true. Rebbe Savarlak Rabbi Yossi. Kamashma the low Rebbe Savarlak Rabbi Yossi. Low Yossi Savarlak Rebbe. Rebbe didn't hold like Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi didn't hold like Rebbe. Now the Gemara is going to explain. Rebbe lo Savarlak Rabbi Yossi. The Kasani Kazaget. The Mute, the Rebbe, and we'll see in a Bryce in a second, he said this is a get to exclude the opinion of who? To exclude the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi l'savalak to Rebbe. Then Gazek get l'mute the Rebbe. Rabbi Yossi, one of his statements, he said Gazek get. Tell you the law is not like Rebbe. Now the Gemara is going to explain what it meant. Rebbe Mahi, what's the case of Rebbe? The Sanya Mahayom ul achar misa. He says Mahayom ul achar misa. Right? Conflicting languages. Get ve'eno get. Divrei chachamim. Right? We saw that in the Mishnah. That's the safe of the Mishnah, right? We're not sure, and therefore it's a suffix. Du chalitza no yibum. Rebbe Omer kazeh get. Rebbe says this is a get. It's actually a get. We give more importance to the word kayom, ma'ayom. So therefore, retroactively, it was a good get, and you don't even need chalitza. And the reason it kazeh get is to tell you that Rabbi Yossi does not agree with him at all. Rabbi Yossi Mahi. What's Rabbi Yossi's opinion? The Snan kisvu v'tnu gal ishti lo basi mikan va'yir beis chodesh. He says, write a get and give a get to my wife if I don't come back within 12 months. Kasvu b'sochi beis chodesh. They wrote it within 12 months. V'nasnu la'achar yir beis chodesh. After he died, after he didn't come back after 12 months, they gave it afterwards. Ain't no get. It's not a good get. Rabbi Yossi Omer kazeh get. Rabbi says it is a good get because he didn't say that giving has to be done within 12 months. He just said, if I don't come back within 12 months, write and give a get to my wife. Technically, if I wrote it and gave it afterward, it would be okay also. They have the cases where they wrote it within the 12 months, they gave it after, but that would be okay. And that's Rabbi Yossi says, because this is a get. And Rebbe argued on this and said, no, the ksiva and the nesina have to be within the 12 months, during the 12 months. That is where we'll leave off tonight. The Gemara continues with the discussion of the end of the Mishnah. Stay tuned for Ian with Ben Sion. I want to talk about this svara Rabbi Yossi, Zmano shel shtar mochiach alav, that really, even though you said Hareza Gittin imes, whether you wrote it, the Gemara says whether you write it in the shtar or you say it verbally, the Gemara says Rabbi Yossi would say the same thing. The idea is Zmano shel shtar mochiach alav. The fact that I wrote a date in the get shows that even though I said imesi, right? You don't want the get to take effect after I die. I want it to take effect right now. Right? When I die, the get takes effect retroactively because you wrote a zman, you wrote the time in the get. So obviously you want it to take effect retroactively. We pass on Rabbi Yossi, we don't pass on the Rabban. I'll explain Rabbi Yossi's opinion, and I'll explain the Rabbanan's opinion, why they argue on him, and tie it into the machlokes between Rameh and Rabbi Lazar, but Ede Chasima Karsi or Ede Masira Karsi, Ian with Ben Sion coming up next.